In my 20 years of working with my clients, I've watched parents spend years and tens of thousands of dollars on speech therapy that was never going to work. Not because the speech therapist was bad, not because the child or parent wasn't trying hard enough, but because everyone was focused on the wrong thing. Today, I'm sharing 3 reasons why complex autistic children don't progress in speech therapy. And I'm going to share 3 things that you can do to help your child communicate. Because honestly, continuing in speech therapy that isn't working could actually hurt your child's progress. For those of you new to the channel, I'm Dr. Dana Johnson, an occupational therapist with a PhD in child mental health and development, and I help parents of complex autistic children understand what's really driving their child's challenges. Most of my clients are non-speaking with very complex bodies. I had a mom ask me just very recently if I thought her child was going to speak. She had done all the things that her doctor had told her. 40 hours of ABA therapy, speech therapy twice a week, OT once a week. He was 10, and I could just see this look on her face. But here's what I explained to her. And this is reason number 1 why your child may not be progressing in speech therapy. Speech is a very fine motor skill. We have fine motor skills and we have gross motor skills. Now, we develop by really getting our gross motor skills moving first. Then we develop our fine motor skills. So like I said, the majority of my clients, they have very challenging bodies. They don't have control of their body. And so they haven't developed the coordination for their gross motor skills. So their fine motor skills, they're going to really struggle with that because they don't have a good foundation for the gross motor skills. So because speech is such a fine motor skill, until we can really get control of the body and they get better coordinated, they get better, they improve their ability to initiate their body, speech is going to be really, really hard, especially if the rest of the body can't coordinate itself. Communication is something that many of us take for granted. I was talking with a parent and she said to me, I just want to know if he's in pain. And if he is in pain, what hurts so that I can fix it. He seems like he's in pain. And what she was referring to is that he can become very dysregulated, very self-injurious, and aggressive. And what I talked to her about is reason number 2 as to why some of my complex autistic clients don't progress in speech therapy, and that is additional medical complications. There are a large majority of individuals with complex autism who also have medical complications, things like brain inflammation or seizures or other combined diagnoses or GI issues like constipation, which can all lead to pain. And so a lot of times when you're seeing these behaviors, this can indicate a medical issue. And until these medical issues are resolved, it's going to be very difficult to work on any kind of motor skills. Now imagine every single time that you heard a sound, it was so loud that it caused stabbing pain, like a knife coming through your skull. Or what if your skin felt like fire every single time someone or something touched you? So you lived with this high anxiety, high stress 24/7. Now, this is going to severely impact how you learn. And this is reason number 3, intense sensory overload. So being in this constant fight or flight state just because you're trying to avoid these situations is going to impact how you learn new things. So for your child who may have this intense reaction to certain sensory stimuli, this is going to impact how they're learning these new motor planning movements and certainly fine motor movements like speech. Okay, so up until this point in the video, you've just heard me tell you all the reasons why speech therapy isn't helpful for your child. But speech therapy can be really helpful, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a second. But only if you're working with a speech therapist who understands the whole picture. Someone who gets the motor planning, who understands complex autism, and who presumes competence in your child even though they can't speak. All right, so here's what you need to know. This is what you can do. Number one, if your child is younger, definitely find a speech therapist who understands all the things that I just talked about, whole body apraxia and presumes competence. Continue working on speaking through play. And that's the great thing about that age, is that they work on speech through play and through practice. So what your child thinks is that it's just playing, but yet they're actually working really hard. Now, if your child is older and speech therapy hasn't worked, it's probably time that you explore alternative communication. Now, let me tell you, your child's communication does not have to stop at pushing the buttons, "I want juice." Okay, now you've probably been told that your child is functioning at a much younger level than their age. Okay, well, I want to tell you that there's a high likelihood that that is wrong. And here's an example of how this is what I talk to parents about. So right now, I'm talking to you in this video. You're listening to it. You understand that I'm speaking English, and hopefully you're learning something from it, so you're engaged. Now, you have not spoken back to me. You may not have spoken at all. You're just listening. Well, you're learning through that process. So your child is listening and they are learning and they understand. Just because they can't point to the right button or point to the right letter doesn't mean that they don't understand. And so we need to start presuming competence, and we need to be able to support them because they have thoughts, they have opinions, and they have things that they desperately want to tell you. And so alternative communication methods like spelling and typing might be, and probably will be, a great option. Now, I know what you're thinking. My child was not formally taught how to spell, so how can that happen? Or my child can only point to 14 out of 26 letters of the alphabet, so they don't actually know their alphabet yet. Well, just remember this. This is about motor first, practicing the motor skills first, because it may be that they can't point to the letter because they have their motor planning challenge. So we need to build those pathways first, just like any athlete. So think about going to the Olympics, right? Any Olympian, they're not going to go to the Olympics or go to the competition first. You don't start there. You start with practice. You refine the movements. You practice over and over and over. So your child needs to learn the motor skills first. Now, I have 2 videos that I'm going to link down in the description below that you can check out about different alternative methods of communication, and then also more specifically about motor planning and whole body apraxia. Okay, the second thing that you can do, don't forget about addressing any of the medical complications. Make sure that you find a physician. If you're wondering if your child is in pain, make sure that you find a physician that truly understands all of the intricacies of complex autism, because not every doctor totally understands that. Now, I'm going to link a number of resources in the descriptions. One of them is a link to doctors who truly get it and who truly can understand your child and help them get out of pain so that then they can work on building those new motor plans. Okay, so what about sensory overload? Well, 2 things about this. First, and most importantly, you have to realize that your child perceives the world much, much, much differently than you. And I think for all of us, we tend to think that when we walk outside, everybody's perceiving the auditory information or what I'm looking at as the same as me. And that's not the case. Everybody perceives it very differently. So remember that with your child, especially when they're doing things, their body might be more impulsive or they're very dysregulated. This could be something that you're not even aware of that's happening in their environment. And secondly, observe your child. What do they avoid? What do they enjoy? What do they like? Because if we can take some time to really, truly understand these 2 things, you set them up for success. They will be calmer and their brain will be in a place where they're much more ready to learn the new things, including speech. Now, remember that mom that I mentioned at the beginning, the one with the 10-year-old who asked me if I thought her child would ever speak? Now, here's what else I told her. Speaking isn't the only way to communicate. We communicate in a variety of ways, and you as the parent probably know that already. You know because your child may lead you to something. Your child may play a certain song on their iPad that is part of something you were talking about, I hear this from parents all the time. It's just that right now, the body isn't ready for that level of fine motor control yet. So keep that in mind. Keep going. You're doing an amazing job. Now, let's continue to talk about this because I want to continue to build our community. Subscribe for more real talk about complex autism and definitely leave me a comment. Is your child currently in speech therapy? And what has your experience been? Your child has so much more to say. So let's make sure that we're giving them the tools to say it. Thank you, and I will see you on the next video.